So to cut things out, we're just going to take the X-Acto knife and those areas that we pushed in really hard and ideally blew them out a little bit. Just going to make little cuts. And this is optional. You don't have to do this. I find it, I like the look better, but you can just paint these and that works as well. And this does not have to be perfect. If you have trouble getting them out when the skull's off the form, they'll come out fairly easy. Now another thing I like to do is just mark where I'm going to make my face, because this is going to be my cut line when this thing comes apart. Okay, so removing this, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not the hardest either. Start by cutting out the areas where we folded this underneath. And again, a sharp knife makes this job a lot easier. Safety first, and I'm not probably the best example of the safety on this. And I think my knife needs a new blade. I'm going to cut through some fairly thick plastic where the folds were. I'm sorry it's hard to show exactly how I'm doing this, but I think you get the idea. It's all these undercuts where we folded this up underneath. Now the other thing we're going to do, use the scissors and cut up the center. You may need to go slightly past our line and hot glue that later. The hot glue works really well for that. You have to make sure that you've got most of this cut away underneath the jaw. Once that happens, I put some slits in the side here. And after that, it's elbow grease, loosening up this cut. And ideally, it comes out just like that. You can see we have some blowouts. This is areas where it won't matter. It actually looks better. There's the eye blowout. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. A couple of blowouts in there. Trim this up. And we got the skull face. Now, if you're doing the whole skull, you're going to have to do a bit more slices and gluing. Clearly it is not going to be the same You can see how much we lose there. If we were going to do the whole skull, it'd come right around here. Next we'll move on to the painting. Okay, a little footnote to the forming portion here. After they're ready off the form, I like to take a wood burning tool. You could use a soldering iron and go in these openings and just smooth them out a little bit. Nothing wrong with leaving them the way they are. I just find that sometimes with the cutting of the X-Acto knife, they're a little bit sharper than what you might like. So I come in here, smooth the edges a little bit. Also, I wanted to point out that what I'm doing is making faces to hang on a wall, and I mentioned doing entire skulls. These are fairly rough looking. I did these quickly for the video, and it did take me about 20-25 attempts to start getting consistent results. So as you can see, this one is rough. It's got blowouts. Not exactly the best, but once you practice, start working on your technique, you can come up with like the full skulls. They turn out quite nice. And then I use the hot glue gun, as I mentioned, to seal up the seams, because with the bigger skulls you are going to get seams. The smaller one has a small seam, but that's not really a big deal. Bigger ones will have a lot more seams. You can see there where it's been, possibly see where it's been patched. So take your time, practice, so you can make good looking skulls. Because I'm doing the walls, I need to hang these on something, so I have landscape fabric on the wall, and I'm just doing simple. I had some galvanized wire lying around. This is about a 1/16. I just bend it, and I just glue it in the top here. This can act like a pin. Then to go through the fabric and hang these on the wall is very lightweight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Essentially, put a very good gob of glue. Make sure the end of the pin is well submerged. Just keep it vertical for a few seconds. And there you have it. You can poke that through the fabric. These will hang on that fabric wall nicely. Now there's that little seam I mentioned. All to do to fix that. You can use the wood burning tool and melt this together. Quite honestly, this is just as easy, if not easier, to just use the hot glue. So there we have it. The next stage will be the painting.